Hi everyone, in this video I'll provide some commentary on the photos from the London trip. If you haven't seen the London trip video yet, please click the link that pops up right now, and hope you enjoy the video. So this first photo is from the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, and this was on our first full day. We got there on the Sunday of Thanksgiving, and we were pretty tired, so we stayed around the hotel area in Shoreditch. And yeah, it was really cool to see all of the soldiers marching, and we followed Rick Steves' guide pretty closely while we were there, and I found it pretty useful. So this is on the second story of a double-decker bus, and this is on Piccadilly, and it's really close to Buckingham Palace. As you can see, there's the Ritz Hotel, and yeah, there's a ton of traffic. So this is a glass sculpture in the central atrium of the Victoria and Albert Museum. It's not as well known as the other museums in London, but it was really interesting to see all the exhibits they had, so I highly recommend it if you're visiting London. So from the museum, we took a bus and we ended up in Leicester Square, which is right next to Chinatown. And yeah, in Leicester Square, there's so much to do. We were there around Christmas time, so there's the little Christmas village, and there's also the M&M shop, which is pretty touristy, but it's pretty fun to see all the M&Ms they have. And yeah, Chinatown is so aesthetically pleasing at night, and we had dinner there. This is the world-famous Tower Bridge, and it's often confused with London Bridge, but yeah, this is Tower Bridge. We walked across it, and we walked along the Thames on the southern bank. There's a really nice pedestrian promenade, and yeah, this is the City of London, and yeah, this is actually London Bridge 3 days before the stabbing happened, so we were pretty lucky not to get caught up in all that, but yeah, it's just really frightening to think that I was there 3 days before a stabbing occurred. So we walked across London Bridge and through the City of London, and this is Sky Garden. It's a skyscraper at 20 Fenchurch Street, and they have a really nice free view of London, and we actually went there twice in one day. It was funny to observe the cultural linguistic differences. So in the US, you would say, please line up here for the Sky Garden elevator. So we were walking through the City of London, the financial district, and there were so many fancy cars. We took the tube up to Holborn, and this is a telephone booth outside the British Museum. And this is the British Museum, the world-famous place where you can see all sorts of different objects, including the Rosetta Stone. And there was also this engraving by Rembrandt, which you can recognize from the 2004 AP Euro DBQ. Enough of that. Okay, now we go on to the afternoon tea that we had at the British Museum in their Great Court restaurant. It was so good, and that Cornish clotted cream was pretty unique as well. Okay, this is either Holborn or Tottenham Court Road, going down into the tube to go to Sky Garden. So we got off at Bank Tube Station, which is in the heart of the City of London, and we got another amazing view of London at night. So you can see some pretty famous buildings, including the Gherkin, and over here you can see Tower Bridge in the foreground and the Canary Wharf all the way at the back. And then we took a bus up to Shoreditch, which is where our hotel was. This photo is taken on Old Street. The next day we went to Paddington Station and we took a train to Oxford. So this was on the Great Western Railway, and it was so beautiful seeing the English countryside. And the train went through the Chiltern Hills, which was really nice to see as well. So in Oxford, they have a pretty strong bike culture. It's a smaller city, and it's pretty hard to get around there on car because of the pedestrian zone in the middle, and there's a lot of uni students, so that makes sense. Here's the Sheldonian Theatre of the University of Oxford, and here is one of the colleges. I can't remember which one it was. This is Christ Church in Oxford, and it was really beautiful. It's several hundred years old. This is a photo that I took on Queen's Lane in Oxford, and it was so nice to see the rain and the old buildings and the nice little streets everywhere. We attended an organ recital in the chapel of Queen's College, Oxford. It was really nice, and it's really good that Oxford has all these opportunities because although it's a small city, it has such a vibrant community, and it has the university there as well. This is the Oxford Covered Market, and it's pretty cool. We went there a couple times just wandering through the city center. And yeah, the next photo is Cornmarket Street, which is a pedestrianized shopping street, and they have like a mall there. Yeah, and these photos were taken around sunset. These were all on George Street, which is basically Oxford's High Street, and it's really nice because you feel like you're in a typical English high street. So that night, we took the train back to London, and the next morning, I saw this funny advertisement on the tube from Monday.com, and it was making fun of the fact that the UK was taking forever to leave the EU. So this was November 2019, before the UK officially left earlier this year. There is the Tower of London. This is the main plaza, I guess, and it was so interesting to see all the old buildings and all these famous things you've heard about in history. So from the Tower Hill tube station, we took the Metropolitan line, and then we ended up in Piccadilly. We ate at a Korean restaurant called Yori, and it was really good. And then we walked through Trafalgar Square, we saw Horatio Nelson, and we walked all the way down past 10 Downing Street, and then all the way to Westminster Palace. So we did take a tour of Parliament, and it was really nice to see the House of Commons, and it was so funny that they had this huge gold throne for the Queen, who only visits once a year. We also saw the House of Lords, and just like, it's so ornate inside. If you ever get the chance to go, you should do it. Unfortunately, there was no photography allowed, and like the whole building was being remodeled, so we couldn't hear Big Ben chime, but hopefully we'll be able to hear that in the future. So this was at a station on the Overground network, and we took it all the way to Shoreditch High Street, which is where we had our dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. We had our highly atypical Thanksgiving dinner at this Italian restaurant in Shoreditch, and it was pretty good. We had clam linguine, and we had bruschetta as the appetizer, and then we also had this pasta, and it was pretty good. It's called the Grapevine. If you're ever in the area, you should check it out. So the next day we went all the way up to St. John's Wood in the far north of London, and we saw the famous Abbey Road zebra crossing and Sir Paul McCartney's house. Then from there we took a bus to Maida Vale and walked through Hyde Park, and then I rented a Boris bike, or Santander cycles, and rode around London. I went all the way to St. Paul's Cathedral, and then rode back to Harrods, which we visited a couple times. So this is an unfortunate part of living in a big city or any major metropolitan area. No matter how diverse it is, there's going to be some racism, and I saw this anti-Polish graffiti that was on a lamppost in Knightsbridge, and it just goes to show that no one is immune to hate. So on a lighter note, here is Piccadilly Circus. And then we also went to Fortnum & Mason's, which is where Queen Victoria liked to shop, and they had some pretty interesting goods for sale, like a beef extract, and then a typical tea, glorious tea. The next few photos are from Regent Street, which is a famous shopping street, and the Burberry World flagship store. So there's this really cute bear, and then here we see the street again, and it's just a really well-designed street with angels that light up around Christmas time. Okay, this photo is from the Old Street tube station on the day that we left London. So we had to take the Northern Line from Old Street and then transfer to Piccadilly, and that line took us all the way to Heathrow. And it's just really interesting to see the difference between British and American urban design. And here are some photos of the eastern coast of Greenland that I took from the plane, and it's just so cool that you can see all of this. This last photo is some cash, and it all has the Queen on it, and that's one thing I'll miss, is how colorful the currency is, and it's just so, I don't know, quaint, magical, I don't know, that the Queen is on everything. So yeah, that wraps up the video. I hope you all enjoyed this detailed breakdown of the photos, I guess, and stay tuned for more videos. I can do travel videos or whatever you want, but it can't be like live or like in person. It has to be from past vacations because of the current situation, which you all know about. So yeah, thanks for watching.